Back to our definitions of the Interstate Commerce Clause. The Congress shall have power to set a standard for buying and selling in between the several states. Nowadays, there's some changes to some of these words, what people think these things mean. Commerce is still the same. It's still buying and selling, okay? We still have commerce defined as that. But regulate, instead of being to set a standard for, what it's now interpreted as is to make all decisions about buying and selling. Not just to set a standard for buying and selling, but to make all decisions about buying and selling. And this word among not only means in between the several states, but they've added and inside each one of the states. And let's add one more thing, and in between all people and over each individual. Okay? So this Interstate Commerce Clause that used to be just interstate, just between the states, now is defined as being the Congress has power to make all decisions about buying and selling in between the several states and inside each one of the states and in between all people and over each individual. Is that an expansion of what the Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 clearly said and meant in the original Constitution, the original intent for constitutions? You bet. It's very much an expansion. It expands government. There's so many problems right now because Interstate Commerce Clause is interpreted as this instead of as what it really says in plain English that we can read ourselves. So back to the slide where we had just the one thing that was circled, right? It has this green circle around it. Well, our problem is it's now intrastate, and it's now interpersonal, and it's now interpersonal. The Interstate Commerce Clause could pretty much be called the intrastate commerce clause, the interpersonal commerce clause, intrapersonal commerce clause. That's not what it is, though. Then we get an example of why that matters. Okay, here's a map of the United States. We have Washington, D.C. with this yellow star, and then here we have the state of Wyoming. Because of the way that it's being interpreted, the Interstate Commerce Clause says, okay, well, we in D.C., and we in the Congress we're gonna tell a farmer what he can grow on his own land. We're going to tell him who he can sell it to. We're going to tell him who he can hire. We're going to tell him how much he must pay his employees. We're going to tell him what his employees can do. We're going to tell him what products he must buy. We're going to tell him what price he has to pay for those products. Does that sound right? Does that sound like that farmer's free to do as he pleases? No. Okay? Those decisions are not to be made by DC. Those decisions are to be made by the farmer. There may even be a role for the state to make some decisions as far as regulating and making rules about commerce. But not inside the state, not the farmer inside the state, not the farmer himself, nor what happens inside that state. Only with the buying and selling that goes across state lines. So you can see how that's a total usurpation. That's a big word for grabbing of power by DC, by Congress, doing those things they haven't been authorized to do.